Hello! Good afternoon/evening and welcome to part 2 of James and the Giant Peach, read by me, written by Roald Dahl. Somebody asked me, are these books mine? No, I borrowed them from a good friend who happens to have children and therefore lots of children's books. And somebody also asked me, is this available anywhere else other than Facebook for children to access? No, it's not! But, maybe I'll do some research and see if we can find them, put them elsewhere for people to have whenever they want to. So, welcome back. You're most welcome. Do share these videos if you're enjoying them. Oh, and don't forget to post some accents that you might want me to do for the characters that are going to show up tomorrow. They don't show up in these chapters, but they will show up tomorrow. Yeah, some accents that I can give a whirl to, all right? Marvellous. Let's dive straight in. So, Mr. James Henry Trotter has just been given a small paper bag of green crystals by a random old man. Never take things from strangers was our lesson from yesterday, but he's taken the crystals, and for the sake of the story, let's find out what happens. James and the Giant Peach, Chapter 5. The next moment, James was running back towards the house as fast as he could go. He would do it all in the kitchen, he told himself, if only he could get in there without Aunt Sponge and Aunt Spiker seeking him. He was terribly excited. He flew through the long grass and the stinging nettles, not caring whether he got stung or not, on his bare knees. And in the distance he could see Aunt Sponge and Aunt Spiker sitting in their chairs with their backs towards him. He swerved away from them so as to go round the other side of the house. But then suddenly, just as he was passing underneath the old peach tree that stood in the middle of the garden, his foot slipped and he fell flat on his face in the grass. Oh! You should always look where your feet go when you're running. I mean, I say, you see these films and people are running and they trip. I mean, just don't trip. Anyway. The paper bag burst open as it hit the ground, and the thousands of tiny green things were scattered in all directions. Hello, Peter. James immediately picked himself up onto his hands and knees and started searching around for his precious treasures. But what was this? They were all sinking into the soil. He could actually see them wriggling and twisting as they burrowed their way downwards into the hard earth. And at once, he reached out a hand to pick some of them up before it was too late. But they disappeared right under his fingers. And there's a picture of James. Oh no. Oh no. He went after some others, and the same thing happened. He began scrabbling around frantically in an effort to catch hold of those that were left, but they were just too quick for him. Each time the tips of his fingers were just about to touch them, they vanished into the earth, and soon, in the space of only a few seconds, every single one of them had gone. James felt like crying. He would never get them back now. They were lost. Lost forever. But where had they gone to? And why in the world had they been so eager to push down into the ground like that? What were they after? There was nothing down there, nothing except the roots of the old peach tree, and a whole lot of earthworms and centipedes and insects living in the soil. But what was it that the old man had said? Whoever they meet first, be it bug, insect, animal, or tree, that'll be the one who gets the full power of their magic. Good heavens, thought James. What's going to happen in the case if they do meet an earthworm, or a centipede, or a spider? And what if they do go into the roots of the peach tree? Get up at once, you lazy beast! A voice was suddenly shouting in James's ear. James glanced up and saw Aunt Spiker standing over him, grim and tall and bony, glaring at him through her steel-rimmed spectacles. Get back over there immediately and finish chopping up those logs, she ordered. Aunt Sponge, fat and pulpy as a jellyfish, came waddling up behind her sister to see what was going on. Who's speaking? Why didn't we just lower the boy down the well in a bucket and leave him there for the night? She suggested. That ought to teach him not to laze about when there's like this the whole day long. That's a very good wheeze, my dear Sponge. But let's make him finish chopping up the wood first. Be off with you at once, you hideous brat, and do some work. Slowly, sadly, poor James got up off the ground and went back to the woodpile. Oh, if he hadn't slipped and fallen and dropped that precious bag, all hope of a happier life had now completely gone. Today and tomorrow and the next day and all the other days as well would be nothing but punishment and pain, unhappiness and despair. He picked up the chopper and was just about to start chopping away when he heard a shout behind him that made him stop and turn. Sponge! Sponge! Come here at once and look at this! It's what? It's a peach! Aunt Spiker was shouting. Oh, what? A peach! Right out there on the highest branch. Can't you see it? I think you must be mistaken, my dear Spiker. That miserable tree has never any peaches on it. There's one in it now, Sponge. You look for yourself. You're teasing me, Spiker. You're making my mouth water on purpose when there's nothing to put into it. Why, that tree's never even had a blossom on it, let alone a peach. Right up on the highest branch, you say? I can't see a thing. Very funny. Ha ha! Good gracious me! Well, I'll be blowed. There really is a peach up there. A nice big one, too, Aunt Spiker said. A beauty! A beauty! Aunt Sponge cried out. The picture. While I rest my voice from those crazy voices. You see the tree? Yeah. At this point, James slowly put down his chopper and turned and looked across at the two women who were standing underneath the peach tree. Something is about to happen, he told himself. Something peculiar is about to happen any moment. He hadn't the faintest idea what it might be, but he could feel it in his bones that something was going to happen soon. He could feel it in the air around him, in the sudden stillness that had fallen upon the garden. James tiptoed a little closer to the tree. The aunts were not talking now. They were just standing there, staring at the peach. There was not a sound anywhere, not even a breath of wind. And overhead the sun blazed down upon them out of a deep blue sky. It's raining today, but rain is good. It looks ripe to me, Aunt Spiker said, breaking the silence. Then why don't we eat it? Aunt Sponge suggested, licking her thick lips. We can have half each. Hey you, James! Come over here at once and climb this tree. James came running over. I want you to pick that peach up there on the highest branch, Aunt Sponge went on. Can you see it? Yes, Auntie Sponge, I can see it. And don't you dare eat any of it yourself. Your Aunt Spiker and I are going to have it between us right here, right now, half each. Get on up with you, up you go. James crossed over to the tree trunk. Stop, Aunt Spiker said quickly. Hold everything. She was staring up into the branches with her mouth wide open and her eyes bulging, as though she'd seen a ghost. Look, she said. Look, Sponge, look. What's the matter with you? Aunt Sponge demanded. It's growing, Aunt Spiker cried. It's getting bigger and bigger. What is? The peach, of course. You're joking. Well, look for yourself. But my dear Spiker, that's perfectly ridiculous. That's impossible. That's... Now wait just a minute. No. This can't be right. No. Yes! Great Scott! The thing really is growing. It's nearly twice as big already, Aunt Spiker shouted. It can't be true. It is true. It must be a miracle. Watch it. Watch. I am watching. Great heavens alive, Aunt Spiker yelled. I can actually see the thing bulging and swelling before my very eyes. Chapter 7. The two women and the small boy stood absolutely still on the grass underneath the tree, gazing up at this extraordinary fruit. James's little face was glowing with excitement. His eyes were as big and bright as 2 stars. He could see the peach swelling larger and larger, as clearly as if it were a balloon being blown up. I like peaches. In half a minute, it was the size of a melon. In another half minute, it was twice as big again. Just look at it growing, Aunt Spiker cried. Will it ever stop? Aunt Sponge shouted, waving her fat arms and starting to dance around in circles. And now it was so big, it looked like an enormous butter-coloured pumpkin dangling from the top of the tree. Get away from the tree, trunk, you stupid boy, Aunt Spiker yelled. The slightest shake, and I'm sure it'll fall off. It must weigh 20 or 30 pounds at least. The branch that had the peach growing on it was beginning to bend over further and further because of the weight. "Stand back!" Aunt Sponge shouted. "It's coming down! The branch is about to break!" But the branch didn't break. It simply bent over more and more as the peach got heavier and heavier. And still it went on growing. In another minute, this mammoth fruit was as large and round and fat as Aunt Sponge herself, and probably just as heavy. "It has to stop now," Aunt Spiker yelled. "It can't go on forever." But it didn't stop. Soon it was the size of a small car and reached halfway to the ground. Both aunts were now hopping round and round the tree, clapping their hands and shouting all sorts of silly things in their excitement. "Hallelujah!" Aunt Spiker shouted. "What a peach! What a peach!" "Terrifico!" Aunt Sponge cried out. "Magnifico! Splendifico! And what a meal! It's still growing! I know! As for James, he was so spellbound by the whole thing that he could only stand and stare and murmur quietly to himself, "Oh, isn't it beautiful? It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." "Shut up, you little twerp!" Aunt Spiker snapped, happening to overhear him. "It's none of your business." "That's right," Aunt Sponge declared. "It's got nothing to do with you whatsoever. Keep out of it." "Look!" Aunt Spiker shouted. "It's growing faster than ever now. It's speeding up." Picture. For a colourless book, it still looks like a tasty peach. Because it's been painted. "I see it, Spiker. I do. Bigger and bigger grew the peach. Bigger and bigger and bigger. Then at last, when it had become nearly as tall as the tree that it was growing on, as tall and wide, in fact, as small as a small house, the bottom part of it gently touched the ground, and there it rested. "It can't fall off now," Aunt Sponge shouted. "It stopped growing," Aunt Spiker cried. "No, it hasn't. Yes, it has. It's slowing down, Spiker. It's slowing down, but it hasn't stopped yet. You watch it." There was a pause. It has now. I believe you're right. Do you think it's safe to touch it?" "I don't know. We'd better be careful." Oh. Aunt Sponge and Aunt Spiker began walking slowly round the peach, inspecting it very cautiously from all sides. They were like a couple of hunters who had just shot an elephant and were not quite sure whether it was dead or alive. Shooting elephants isn't bad. And the massive round fruit towered over them, so high that they looked like midgets from another world beside it. The skin of the peach was very beautiful, a rich, buttery yellow, with patches of brilliant pink and red. Aunt Sponge advanced cautiously and touched it with the tip of one finger. "Doink!" "It's ripe," she cried. "It's just perfect. Now look here, Spiker. Why didn't we go and get a shovel right away and dig out a great big chunk of it for you and me to eat?" "No," Aunt Spiker said. "Not yet." "Why ever not?" "Because I say so." "But I can't wait to eat some," Aunt Sponge cried out. She was watering in the mouth now, and a thin trickle of spit was running down one side of her chin. "My dear Sponge," Aunt Spiker said slowly, winking at her sister and smiling a sly, thin-lipped smile. "There's a pile of money to be made out of this only if we can handle it right. You wait and see." Ma. Chapter 8. The news that a peach almost as big as a house had suddenly appeared in someone's garden spread like wildfire across the countryside, and the next day a stream of people came scrambling up the steep hill to gaze upon this marvel. Quickly, Aunt Sponge and Aunt Spiker called in carpenters and had them build a strong fence round the peach to save it from the crowd. And at the same time, these two crafty women stationed themselves at the front gate with a large bunch of tickets and started charging everyone for coming in. Roll up, Aunt Spiker yelled. "Only 1 shilling to see the great giant peach." A shilling. 5 pence. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, look at him. Sorry. Helicopters. Look at him. "Half price for children under 6 weeks old," Aunt Sponge shouted. One at a time, please. Don't push, don't push. You're all going to get in. Hey, you, come back here. You haven't paid. By lunchtime, the whole place was a seething mass of men and women and children, all pushing and shoving to get a glimpse of this miraculous fruit. Helicopters were landing like wasps all over the hill, and out of them poured swarms of newspaper reporters, cameramen, and men from the television companies. It'll cost you double to bring in a camera, Aunt Spiker shouted. All right, they answered. We don't care. And the money came rolling into the pockets of the two greedy aunts. But while all this excitement was going on outside, poor James was forced to stay locked in his bedroom, peeping through the bars in his window at the crowds below. He had bars in the window? Man. The disgusting little brute will only get in everyone's way if we let him wander about, Aunt Spiker had said earlier that morning. Oh, please, he begged. I haven't met any other children for years and years, and there's going to be lots of them down there for me to play with. And perhaps I can help you with the tickets? Shut up, Aunt Spongin snapped. Your Aunt Spiker and I are about to become millionaires, and the last thing we want is the likes of you messing things up and getting in our way. Later, when the evening of the first day came, and the people had all gone home, the aunts unlocked James's door and ordered him to go outside and pick up all the banana skins and orange peel and bits of paper that the crowd had left behind. Could I please have something to eat first? He asked. I haven't had a thing all day. No! They shouted, kicking him out of the door. We're too busy to make food. We're counting our money. But it's dark, cried James. Get out, they yelled. And stay out. Going to destroy me flat until you've cleaned up all the mess. The door slammed. The key turned in the lock. And John stopped reading. Until tomorrow at 5:30. You have to come back tomorrow to find out what happens next. And don't forget to comment some accents that you want me to do, please. Marvellous. Right, I'll see you tomorrow at 5:30 then. Marvellous. And do let me know if you know any way I can make Facebook videos go onto other platforms so people can see them if they haven't got Facebook. Yeah, and do share the videos if you're enjoying yourselves. Right. Have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow. Ta-da!